Hello and welcome. This is Lita Downs from the Center for Faculty Excellence, and I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, Finding Purpose and Connection with Doctoral Students and Faculty Members, a conversation with doctoral specialists. Today's presenters are from advising, and they are Jill Kapsack and Jen Rothmel. But before I hand things over to them, I'd like to review a few items in Adobe in case you're not familiar with the platform. As you can see, the main content will be delivered in the center screen throughout the next 60 minutes. There's an attendee list to the right where you can see colleagues of yours that are on the line and maybe give them a shout out in the chat box to the left. We do have Kate who is captioning for us today, so thank you, Kate, for offering those services. We also have a function at the top of the screen. It's a raise hand function, or maybe you need one of us to speak up, or maybe you just want to give Jen or Jill a round of applause. Please feel free to use those options as well. Finally, in case you should encounter any technical difficulties, there is a help button in the upper right-hand corner, and that help button has a wealth of information. Hopefully you won't need to use it, but if you do encounter a glitch, it's there for you. At this point, I am going to turn things over to Jen Rothmel. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here and just wanted to share a little bit about my background, and then Jill will share hers, and then we'll get started. But I've been working with Walden for 5 years, started out in undergrad advising, and then moved over to doctoral specialist role about 2 years ago, and been working in higher education for about 15 years. And I'm also working on my dissertation on student retention. Jill?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I actually come from corporate America and worked in some very, very large companies doing marketing. And I came into higher ed in 2004. My last 6 years, 5 of them were spent at one of our competitors doing the same role I'm doing now as a doctoral specialist. And that now I've been with Walden for almost 1 year. I'm just sneaking up on that 1 year mark. So I look forward to working with you and answering questions for you.
Yep, feel free to ask any questions in the chat area. I know Jill and I will just answer as we go along. This is probably my 5th or 6th webinar, and so very used to answering questions kind of as we're moving along. But just a couple of learning objectives. So we'll be giving an opportunity to discuss how doctoral specialists work with faculty members and students, and work to collaborate with the students and faculty members. And then we'll also talk about how we can work to boost our student-faculty communication strategies to help increase retention and satisfaction for both.
I'll let you run the arrows, Jen, because I'm a little arrow happy. Apologize for that, everybody. But now that we're looking at the learning objectives, then the agenda, we just want to go through who are we as doctoral specialists? What makes us different than advisors? And then when we're looking at the conversation, I've talked about this for a long time, and Jen and the doc specialist team, we all have kind of adopted this little flag of Switzerland I have in my cube, because we are supposed to be impartial when we're working with you, the faculty members, and also the students. We're also going to look at the goals. What makes us different? What kind of training have we had to be able to help? And accountability coaching, it is a huge part of our job, and that's to make your life easier, because our hope is that we're going to have continuous collaboration, or maybe start collaboration with some of the schools. Everybody's at a different level.
So who we are, it's a position that launched December 2016. Our advising manager, Mandy Olson, developed the role with the help of Dr. Eric Rydell, and it came from a need to really give our doctoral students one-on-one coaching support, and specifically for those at the dissertation or capstone phase. So doctoral specialists only work with students who have completed the preparing for dissertation courses and the developing a perspectives course. So they're starting their dissertation, or if they've been identified as someone that could use a little extra help or support through the process, we work with them as well. We do have 12 specialists supporting all doctoral programs except the nursing program, and I know that's going to change soon, just not sure when. This year we'll be working towards supporting all the students who are approaching time to degree completion. So this year, anyone that's approaching their 8-year max, they will get reassigned to us to work with them to make sure that they're on track and can finish in the time frame. And then we also recently surveyed students who work specifically with us, and I'm currently working on compiling the results, but so far very positive feedback from students so far.
And when I'm looking at our purpose, this is one of the things that I am so thankful that we have this opportunity, because we are looking at impartiality. And when we're looking at impartiality, what that means is we are here to help both sides succeed. We want to lighten your load as chairs and faculty members to be able to work with your more time-consuming students to allow you to work more on what you do best. And you'll hear that quite often as we're talking, because so much of the time that you're spending is to work with students who are maybe not progressing as well as they could and take a lot of your time. When we're looking at the impartiality, I will make a pledge to you if you can also return that to us in the doctoral specialist team, regardless of what we hear from the students that are telling us their tale of woe and the issue with that faculty member, the committee that's not listening to them and they're not doing things the way that the student wants, whatever that is, we don't take that. We don't believe it, okay? We want to know the whole big picture view. We can't know that without knowing your side of it. That's part of this collaboration. And in doing that, we also ask that if you hear any negative things about us, please also give us the benefit of the doubt.
So yeah, our goal really is for students to be successful and to help support faculty. Like Jill was saying, our role really came from a need to give these students accountability in what they're doing and ensuring that they're taking the feedback that faculty are giving them and that they're making those changes on a regular basis. One of the more common conversations we have with students is concerns that they have with their chair in progress towards degree completion or dissertation completion. And our goal is really to help the student understand the process and how to effectively communicate with their committee to ensure that they are making positive progress. And many times we are advising our students that the frustrations they have are part of the process and that they need to understand how the process works and work with us. I always tell my students, if you're upset or angry about the process, take it out on me. Let's talk about it so that you're not taking it out on your committee and possibly delaying any progress. So the GRASP training is something that advising went through a couple months ago. It's the entire advising staff went through that. We're going to be preparing for a shift in how we work with students. So all of advising is shifting towards more of what doctoral specialists do, which is working with a specific cohort of students so that we can develop relationships with them and then focus solely on our cohort. And then the benefit of this type of relationship is it helps the student feel less isolated, which is a common roadblock for our students. And then accountability coaching, we work really hard to have students schedule regular check-ins with us so we can hold them accountable for their own progress. And how I approach this is that I want to talk to the student regardless if they've met their weekly or monthly goal. The purpose of that is to discuss why they didn't meet that goal and find resources and strategies to help avoid that moving forward.
And when Jen just mentioned our goal, then let's look at our hope too, because the whole thing that we're looking at is the teamwork, the collaboration. And while it's not saying you have to take all the blame yourself, but alluding back to what I was talking are mentioning before is that some students have problems, and also this goes back to what Jen was talking about, accountability. Many times we hear that that darn chair is not listening to me. And that accountability piece, our hope is to be able to join the team with you, to be able to help people. And one of the things we work for is reality. And I consider myself a reality fairy. So I sprinkle happy news and I sprinkle not so happy news. But that is something where I'm able to help you by giving you time back, or the Doc specialists are able to give you time back to do what you do best, which is the academic side. We're willing to look at one and forgive this this way that I refer to them, but the time vampires. And I have a feeling you all have at least one that we may be able to help. So we're there as their cheerleader. We're able to help you to be able to get off of your total motivational time with them that takes many, many days or emails, whatever we can help with, because we want you to be able to release some of that burden, give us the chance to do it, and when we're talking about it, we are here to lower the number of complaints as well. It's one of the things I mentioned. I worked for another school, and we did a pilot of this in the 5 years I was there. And the team that did the pilot, that was my pilot, we had fewer escalations to what we call our program director and student affairs. Because if we can keep things on just a level in faculty and then the doc specialists, we can many times eliminate future issues. So once again, we want you to be able to use your time to do your best. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jen for more ways to collaborate, because as you can see, collaboration is dividing the task and multiplying the success. We want to divide the task with you and be able to increase student success and maybe help you have a little less stress and more time to do what you love.
And one concern I know that some faculty have approached me with, and I'm sure others, is worried about if we're talking about content with students, the content of their dissertation, or doing any editing. And I say to every single student, I'm a process expert, I'm not a content expert. I can give you particular resources if you're struggling on a specific section, but I'm not going to edit your work, I'm not going to review your work, and I'm not going to try and interpret what your chair or committee member is saying. So just wanted to throw that out there. So we're asking to give us a try and certainly start referring students to us. If you have a particular student who's struggling with motivation or, accountability, saying, okay, I'm going to get this done by this date, but they're consistently not meeting that deadline, refer them to us, and we'll certainly do our best to hold them accountable and coach them through the process and support them through the ups and downs of that. Certainly, if you know that you have some students that work with a doctoral specialist, I would love to start having regular meetings with chairs and committee members so that, as Jill said, we're all on the same page and that we're also getting both sides of the story. And I'll be honest, I recently recently had a situation where a student expressed serious concern to me about their chair and some things that were happening. It was a student that I trusted and had worked with before and felt they were telling me the truth, but again, as we in advising know, we tend to get burned. So we do want to hear both sides of what's going on and help facilitate any any changes that need to happen or changes in communication or things like that. And then, of course, if you have any success stories with students that have worked with us, certainly share those with other chairs, committee members, and program directors. We do want to continue to grow this team so that every dissertation student has a doctoral specialist. And so the more feedback, positive or negative, that we get, it helps us in the long run to develop the role and add on more people.
And now that you know somewhat of what we can do, and we're available for questions after as well, when you're looking at referral process, or how and when would you want to be referred to a doctoral specialist? And there's examples of who to refer and how to review or refer. And one of them is struggling to make it past prospectus. And in 6 years, I will tell you that I have worked with many students, and I actually will risk my relationship with the student to give them a very strong and sometimes difficult message to tell them to get out of their own way. And this can come at different times of the doc study or the PhD or the dissertation, because so many times I run into people, especially I work in School of Management and Technology, so I have these people who want to prove that their committee member is wrong and that they're right. And I will have a discussion with them to tell them to get out of their own way. And at times it may be a while before they will actually be able to absorb that and embrace that. But when they do, the change can be remarkable. And the nice thing is the chair isn't the one who gets the beating for that, so to speak. And that's a little excessive to use that word, but I definitely get on the naughty list, shall we say, and am not their favorite person for a while. But after we have recurring meetings and move on and work on that, that can be a huge asset to moving forward that you may not be comfortable to work with, and we need to preserve your relationship because, in my opinion, yours is the most important, and the doc specialists, we're here to support you and the student. You've got students who are losing their motivation. They quit believing in themselves. Now, you can spend a bunch of time being their cheerleader or trying to get them to believe in themselves, but we have the experience. We also have the time. We have direct phone numbers that they can call, so they're not going to a queue wondering. They're going to get to us, and we will do things to help motivate them, get them to believe in themselves, or in certain situations, find, especially if you have talked to us, because you can come to us, the students also come to us, but if there's someone who absolutely has no hope for continuing, we can also help them gracefully on an off-ramp, which is a difficult thing and takes some experience to do so, and we're prepared to do that. Also, just understanding processes, finding resources, things that take time for you to have to tell them maybe the third time, maybe you've already told them once or twice. Send them to us. And then also, if they need one-on-one coaching, we do some of our students are weekly appointments, some of them are monthly, some are quarterly, but we're accountability partners. We help make sure they know they've got to be talking to us, so most people are embarrassed if they haven't moved forward, and between the faculty committee and us, that can be a great driver as well. So if you're looking to refer someone, all you need to do is email our boss, Kristen Schomer. Her email's right there, and she will be able to help get someone assigned. And then also, once we are assigned, you would be able to reach out to us directly if there's an issue with your student. And now that we've gone over that, I'm going to turn it back to Jen to take us the next step here.
So yeah, that kind of went quick, but that was really our presentation, and just wanted to open it up for question and answer. I see there was a question in the chat box. Let's see.
Oops. Do you want me to answer this first, and Ricky's question first, Jen, and then do you want to respond? Because, yeah, of course, we do have different styles at times, but you've got a student, and she's lost her job, and her writing's become more scattered, And holding someone accountable who doesn't have the wherewithal to do it may be a time that they would want to talk to us about a leave of absence. We'd have to look at their time in or time to degree completion and different factors, but weigh it out and be able to discuss with them what that would mean. There would be financial ramifications and such, but we can look at the big picture and help them to possibly take a break or look at some ways to be able to avoid spending money and possibly getting a U grade, which can end one after two of them. Their hopes are put on hold for a while anyway, so why not schedule a break or leave of absence?
And then do you give progress reports to chairs? We don't, but that's certainly something that if there's a chair that wants me to give an update on the conversations that I've had with their students, I will absolutely do that. So nothing official that we do, but certainly open to that. If a student has complaints about a committee member, do you contact the committee member to hear that side? How I typically handle it is I basically drill the student with questions. I ask, what are your specific concerns? What are the dates of maybe if there's a delay, you feel there's a delay? 9 times out of 10 after drilling them with questions, the issue tends to work itself out. If it gets to a point where I don't feel like the student is willing to communicate with the committee member they have concerns with, then I'll certainly give them the option of, do you want me to reach out to them? Do you want to connect with the program director? I kind of leave it up to what the student would like to do and then kind of go from there. I have had a few times where I've had conference calls with the student and their committee members or the student and program directors, and certainly something that I know all doc specialists are willing and open to doing.
And may I just add something to that, Jen?
Yeah.
And then if you've got more, I'm sorry I interrupted if I did, but some schools aren't comfortable with that, and that we're hoping to change as they realize the importance of collaborating to take some of the burden off of the chairs and committee members and also help with fewer escalations, fewer complaints to the CAO, and also better student success. So that's where I'm hoping all schools will start to embrace this I guess, doctoral specialist program and let us help. So the question on do all, did you have anything else for Marilyn's question, Jen?
No.
Okay. And do all post-8 students get an assigned doctoral specialist? We are looking at actually post-6, I think, isn't it, Jen?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep, so post-6 years is the full question there.
Yeah, this year, pretty much anytime someone comes on our 6-year time to degree completion report, we'll start assigning those over to doctoral specialists. And then is there a limit to how long a student could stay in this arrangement? No, I mean, basically, if I lose a student on my cohort, it's because they graduated or were dismissed or have stopped going. So the students, basically, when they're assigned to us, we work with them until they've finished or, depending on the situation, if they have to withdraw or have been dismissed.
I see Bonnie's typing. You're welcome, Marilyn. We actually, the post-6, Bonnie, is what we're moving to. So we're not waiting for them to get to 8. We're going to try to get them done by 8 so we don't have to look at going ahead and doing extensions and the time that takes.
And currently, our cohort sizes, we can take up to 350 students. And so I know that some of us have capacity for more referrals, but we do still have that cohort that was assigned to us. It's not a perfect system, so we may have missed students potentially to get assigned to us. So I would say if you do have students that you feel need to work with a doc specialist, certainly refer those by sending an email to that our manager's email address, and we can absolutely get them
I'm adding it
reassigned.
right now.
Okay. I think my biggest challenges with doc students is having them understand the transition from coursework to writing a dissertation. When I go to residencies, I really try and emphasize some of the common roadblocks that I see with students and get them thinking about it. But as we all know, it tends to kind of, they're more overwhelmed with hearing about the process and how it works, and so may not be hearing the suggestions and ideas that I have. But I think that transition and understanding that it is an iterative process, and yes, you may have gotten straight A's in your coursework, but writing a dissertation is much different, and helping them understand that it's a very tedious process.
And
Jill,
if I can just, this is, I believe, unrealistic expectations about what their chair is supposed to do for them, because I try to explain to them in the course room, they are basically led by the hand. This is due this day, this is due that day. And when they are a scholar practitioner and they are supposed to be driving their own study, the expectation on the chair that the chair is supposed to still spoon feed them or take them by the hand is one of the biggest things I think we turn around on them. And that is, if we can get that through to their minds, I think it'll make your lives a lot easier too.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. So Bonnie's back and wanting to know how we would support someone who's mired in Chapter 2 Lit Review. Also, we've got some great resources on actually putting together a lit review. There are writing courses. They're called KXs. There are many things, including working with the library as well. So the lit review, we have more resources than a lot of schools do, and it's a lot of times the student just has to have the motivation and drive to use those resources and not just feel, as a lot of our students, going back to feeling alone, as Jen was saying, and that's another role we do fill for them. They're not all by themselves, is that when they get feeling like that and then they run up to something like the lit review, which is nothing like they've ever done before, giving them the assurance that they can do it and the resources is a time-consuming thing, but we're here for you to help.
There was a question about too early to refer someone. I personally would prefer to start working with students maybe a quarter or two before they start their dissertation, because I want to set up the right expectations before they get into it, and that would be helpful for me. But anytime more than 2 terms, probably not advisable, just because we haven't really been trained on the coursework and the order and things like that. But for me personally, a little bit earlier would be better for me.
I agree on that. And Renee, I'm sorry it took you 12 years and 4 chairs. That had to be very traumatic. And the way things are set up now and all the resources, I bet you'd get through a lot sooner if you were going through now.
Student who runs out of financial aid, yeah, that's a lot of our students are paying out of pocket. If I have a student that comes to me and they're out of funding, I talked to him about parent or graduate plus loan, scholarships, grants, that type of thing, but our knowledge is limited on that, so I usually refer them to the financial aid office. But unfortunately, it's a situation where the student really has to just figure it out for themselves.
Let's see, and as far as how does the outreach come, is typically the person would be referred to us, and many times they have a different advisor, not a doctoral specialist, but an advisor who was there for them through their coursework. And what I like to do is, if they have been working with that person, do what I call kind of a warm transfer, is copy the student and the previous advisor and just say, I'm the new advisor and I'm coming here to work with you now that you're in the dissertation or doc study side. And I apologize for that noise. And let's see if we can make that go away. My husband is in the alcohol industry. I'm not getting, I don't have like the wine company calling to send me wine. So anyway, apologize for that. Not the most professional. But basically just trying to keep, if there's a continuity between the previous advisor and myself, I would want to at least have something that would seem like we were all working together for their success. If the chair wanted to be included in the introduction, that would be fabulous.
If a student's on a leave of absence, no, you can refer students anytime, even if they're on a leave of absence, and we'll certainly work with students while they're on leave. If I have students currently that go on a leave of absence, I let them know, obviously you can't work with your committee, but you can still reach out to me and talk through any questions you may have or concerns about coming back or things like that. I don't see any others. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Well, thank you,
Well,
Jen
we might have
and
one
Jill.
coming.
This was great information, and we'll hang on the line if there are any more questions. But while you're composing your questions, just want to ask you all if you could take a moment and fill out the survey. I know Jen and Jill would love some feedback, and it also gives some direction on information to present in future offerings. So I want to thank you all for being on the line, but we're not hanging up quite yet. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type.
Also, if you have any suggestions on how we can further assist students and you, that's what we're all about, so please let us know.
And I will be sending out
posting.
Perfect. And I'll be sending out a copy of these PowerPoints, and I'm queuing them up right now, and also a link to the recording. So if you maybe reflect back and you maybe have a question that was addressed during the session, but forget the answer, you can always refer back to those resources that I'm going to send out momentarily after we stop the recording.
Oh, Jen, you beat me to it.
All right, I don't see any other questions coming in. Once again, I am going to send out a copy of the materials, and I'll also have Jill and Jen's contact information. It will be in the CC line, so if you have any questions, you can also reach out to them. Thank you all so much, and thanks, Jen and Jill. This is a fabulous offering, and we look forward to collaborating again. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you all
Have
so
a good
much.
day.